The tragedy you're likely referring to is a devastating event currently unfolding right now in February 2026. This is being described as one of the deadliest avalanche incidents in U.S. history, striking the backcountry just north of Lake Tahoe. The Castle Peak incident, February 17, 2026. On the morning of Tuesday, February 17, 2026, a massive avalanche struck a group of backcountry skiers in the Castle Peak area near Truckee, California. The group consisted of 15 people, initially reported as 16, comprising 11 clients and 4 professional guides from Blackbird Mountain Guides. They were on the final leg of a 3-day excursion, returning to the trailhead after staying at the remote Frog Lake huts. The anatomy of the slide. The slide occurred around 11:30 a.m. during a powerful Pineapple Express winter storm that was dumping feet of snow per day across the Sierra Nevada. Elevation. The avalanche triggered at approximately 8,200 feet on a north-facing slope near Perry Peak. Magnitude. It was classified as a D2.5 slide, a rating indicating it was large enough to bury, injure, or kill people, and powerful enough to destroy small buildings or snap trees. Conditions. The Sierra Avalanche Center had issued a high avalanche danger warning, 4 out of 5 that morning, citing a persistent weak layer of sugary snow from earlier in the month that was unable to hold the weight of the massive new snowfall. Rescue and recovery. Rescue efforts began immediately but were severely hampered by blizzard conditions, hurricane-force winds, and near-zero visibility. The survivors, 6 members of the group, managed to survive the initial slide and sheltered under a makeshift tarp. Rescuers from various agencies, including Tahoe Nordic Search and Rescue and teams from nearby Boreal and Tahoe Donner, battled through 3 to 5 feet of fresh snow to reach them. The toll. As of Wednesday afternoon, February 18, 2026, authorities have confirmed that 8 people are dead. 1 individual remains missing, and search teams are currently racing against both the clock and a secondary storm front to locate them. Injuries. Among the 6 survivors, 3 suffered significant injuries that prevented them from skiing out on their own, requiring a complex evacuation via snowcat and sleds. The current situation. This tragedy has sent shockwaves through the Lake Tahoe community, drawing comparisons to the 1982 Alpine Meadows disaster due to its scale. Currently, Interstate 80 and several major mountain passes remain closed or under strict chain control as the storm continues. Authorities are pleading with the public to avoid all backcountry travel, as the natural avalanche cycle is expected to continue for the next 24 to 48 hours. The 1982 Alpine Meadows avalanche is remembered as one of the most harrowing natural disasters in California's history. It was a tragedy defined by the raw power of nature, but also by a legendary story of survival that defied every medical expectation. The storm of the century. In late March 1982, a massive late-season Pineapple Express storm slammed into the Sierra Nevada. Over 4 days, more than 7.5 feet of snow fell, piled on top of an already deep base. By March 31st, winds were gusting at over 100 miles per hour, and the visibility was 0. The danger was so high that Alpine Meadows remained closed to the public that Wednesday. Only a skeleton crew of employees remained on the mountain to perform essential maintenance and avalanche control. The moment of impact. At 3:45 p.m., the buttress area above the resort gave way. A fissure nearly 3,000 feet wide and 10 feet deep ripped through the snowpack. In seconds, a tidal wave of snow, ice, and debris, estimated to be traveling at 100 miles per hour, descended on the base area. The force was catastrophic. The avalanche completely demolished the 2-story Summit Terminal building, partially crushed the main lodge, buried the parking lot under 10 to 20 feet of concrete like snow, snapped century-old trees like matchsticks. The victims. 7 people lost their lives that day. Among them were 4 resort employees, including the mountain manager Bernie Kingery and ski patroller Jake Smith, who had managed to shout a warning over the radio just moments before he was buried. The tragedy also claimed 3 people in the parking lot: Dr. Leroy Nelson, his daughter Laura, and their friend David Hahn. They had been staying at a nearby condo and, stir-crazy from being trapped inside by the storm, had stepped out for a walk toward the lodge. The miracle of Anna Conrad. The most famous part of this tragedy is the survival of Anna Conrad, now Anna Allen, a 22-year-old lift operator. At the time of the slide, Anna and her boyfriend, Frank Yeatman, were in the locker room of the Summit building. When the building collapsed, Frank was killed, but Anna was thrown into a tiny void created by a bench and a fallen wall. For 5 days, 117 hours, she remained trapped in a space roughly 3 feet high and 5 feet long. The survival. She had no food and survived by eating small amounts of snow she could reach. The rescue. On the 5th day, as rescuers were preparing to transition from a rescue to a recovery mission, a search dog named Bridget alerted handlers to a spot in the debris. The recovery. Rescuers dug through the wreckage and found Anna alive. She had suffered severe frostbite and ultimately lost her right leg below the knee and the toes on her left foot, but her survival remains the longest recorded for an avalanche burial in U.S. history. Legacy and safety. The disaster fundamentally changed how ski resorts approach avalanche safety. It led to more sophisticated forecasting, better communication protocols, and the widespread use of search dogs and beacons. Today, a memorial stands at the resort to honor those lost, and the story is the subject of the acclaimed documentary Buried.